All right, and welcome into the Betting Pros College Football Show. Championship games have been played. The bracket and bowl games are set, which means there's only one thing left to do. Make some wagers. Today, we take a first look at the early lines for the 4 first-round college football playoff games. We'll also make our picks for the Army-Navy game and the early bowl games as well. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, coming off my best weekend of college football betting since week 1 of the season. Apparently, I need to be throwing down more on MAC and Sunbelt games is what I learned here this past weekend. I'm rocking and rolling with the best cast in the business, including the heel of this particular program, Terrell Furman Jr. Just 2 weeks to Christmas, Terrell. Are you feeling those holiday vibes?
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely feeling the holiday vibes after the last Friday that we had. Swept the board on a Friday. It was a great way to start the college football weekend. Really, I count championship weekend as kind of bowl season. Like, it just feels, it doesn't feel like regular season games to me. So I love when we get to this time of year. We got off high. Hey, teetered and tottered a little bit over there, but nonetheless, unfortunately for my two co-hosts, well, really everybody on the staff, all of our teams didn't get it done as Rocco Beck just got embarrassed, absolutely embarrassed by Cam Scatterbo and that Arizona State squad. Very, very sad, but nonetheless, my guy Rocco Beck coming back to Iowa State next year. Let's go Cyclones!
Let's go. Glad to hear you picked up a new fan base over this season, Terrell. We're also joined by a guy who Santa visited him early this season, giving Texas a delightful first-round matchup against Clemson. Boggs, how are you today? And have you come to terms yet that Quinn Ewers really might be the Grinch that steals your Christmas this year?
Yeah, I mean, when you can't punch the ball in and you miss field goals, I mean, they should have beat Georgia. But, the mistakes cost you a bye week and rest and extra time to prep and all that good stuff.
Well, did it really cost you?
Look, I think
Texas is in a great position to make the final game.
They are, and I will accept that. I think Penn State also kind of put themselves in a better.
I think the 5 and 6 seed both have the greatest chances.
Yeah. So I'm very excited, but it's one of those weekends like the previous weekend. My bets were bad and Texas won, and I was happy.
Yeah.
This week my bets were great and Texas lost, and I was sad. It wasn't until I was going in to put in my Thursday night bets, last night when I was prepping for that show that I saw, hey, last week you were pretty good. I had that big green circle around my name, which was nice to see. So we've got a couple bowl games coming up here. We're gonna talk about the big playoff games as well. But yeah, I'm excited for bowl season, man. It's here. We're trying to keep track of everyone who's opting out and in the transfer portal and in the transfer portal but might still stay and play. There's so many things that go into it. It makes picking some of these games a little more difficult, but we'll give you the blow by blow here, and it's going to be fun. Another good week, and the big tournament starts for the first time, boys. I am so excited for it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I agree with you, gentlemen. Thanks to everyone who watches and listens every single episode. As a whole, we were swinging a hot back last week as the conference title games unfolded. 3-0 on Friday, as Terrell alluded to. Also, the games on Saturday we were split on, but I felt like we were on the totals for the right side of them. I know, Boggs, you were on the under in Georgia, Texas. You were also on the over for Penn State, Oregon as well. So, great week for us, but what do you always say about the next week, Boggs?
This is the most important week because this is the week we're playing right now.
Exactly. So if you're watching here on YouTube, please let us know down in the comments below. Did you think the college football playoff bracket and the committee got it right overall? We want to hear from you. I know there's been a lot of upset fan bases, Alabama fans. They would like the word.
SEC.
Yeah, and then we also had Miami fans still a little bit upset, even though they kind of knew their fate was sealed the week before. But overall, I'm very happy with what we got, but I want to hear from the Betting Pros community.
We won 16.
Yes, more football, more teams included, the better. While you are here as well, please like this video if you enjoy this type of content. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And before we jump in, I did want to remind everybody about the Betting Pros Discord. Looking to up your game in sports betting? Well, then join our exclusive sports betting Discord community at bettingpros.com/chat. Not only can you connect with expert cappers who provide free picks for the NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, player props, live betting, and more, but now you can also participate in our weekly community picks, cast your vote, and see how your picks stack up against the experts and track your success today. Let's look at the early line of the first round playoff games, starting with the Battle of the Hoosier State that will take place on Friday, December 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time in South Bend. The 7th-seeded Notre Dame Fighting Irish, they are 7.5-point favorites against the 9th-ranked Indiana Hoosiers. Marcus Freeman's men, they are 9-2-1 ATS this season. You have been printing money if you have been betting the Fighting Irish. They are 11-1 straight up, with, of course, their only loss coming in that upset against Northern Illinois. Their marquee wins include Texas A&M, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Army, if you want to throw USC in that mix as well. Funny enough, though, Notre Dame's kind of looking like an academy team at times this season. 101st in passing offense, 10th in rushing, led by dual threat quarterback Riley Leonard. They're also 9th in total defense. As it stands now for the Irish, star running back Jeremiah Love is expected to play after injuring his knee against USC. They should get also defensive tackle Howard Cross back as well. The only major concern for them injury-wise is that their breakout freshman linebacker KVA is remaining out since he's been out since they faced Army, expected to be out for this one as well. IU, on the other hand, led by Kirk Cignetti, 9-3 ATS, 11-1 straight up. Their only loss comes to Ohio State. They do have somewhat impressive wins against Michigan, Nebraska, Washington. Curtis Rourke has led this team the 29th passing offense in the country, but they are very much run-to-pass driven offense that is led by Justice Ellison, their RB1 in the backfield. They also do have the number 1 rushing defense and 10th best passing defense in the nation. The Hoosiers could be out their starting cornerback, Jeremiah Johnson, who is questionable. Boggs, where do you see this line going, and do you have an early lean at all?
Yeah, I think that most people that I've seen picking this game this week, handicappers, experts, however you want to call them, they're on the Notre Dame side. I'm not so sure. I know that Ohio State rolled Indiana, and I think there's questions about whether Indiana deserves to be in this spot or not, right? But I like the extra prep time here. I don't feel like Notre Dame is just a sure thing as most people do. They're not going to pass like Ohio State did. And Ohio State didn't pass for a ton of yards on Indiana. It was 201, but Will Howard was 22 of 26. He did throw that early pick. But can they run on Indiana like they have on anyone else? I think it's a big question for Notre Dame. I'm not sure. Ohio State didn't run with great success against Indiana. Charlotte is the only team this season to put up over 150 rushing yards on Indiana. And to be clear, I still think Notre Dame is going to win this game. I think they'll be able to run. Mm-hmm. I just don't know if it's going to be at such a highly successful clip. We did see them kind of have a weak game against USC. We saw Jordan Maeva pass for 360 yards against them, or Maeva. I always mess up his first name, Jordan or Jaden. Yeah. But there's just not a strong passing offense here. Notre Dame does get Jeremiah Love back for this game, and as you mentioned, Howard Cross, the big defensive tackle as well. If this game is going to stay at more than a touchdown, 7.5, I think I'm taking Indiana. That's my early lean here. I know that Notre Dame has been the better team. They're a strong team, and there are questions about Indiana. I think they deserve to be here. I think they keep this game a little bit tighter. So if it's over a touchdown, I'm going to be taking the Hoosiers.
Do you think it stays there, Boggs? Do you think it's staying at 7.5?
I do, because most of the money and tickets are on Indiana. They're a fun story, so the public wants to bet them. A lot of people don't like Notre Dame as well. Not a surprise that Notre Dame gets hated on a little bit here. But, yeah, I think I like the Hoosiers plus the points if it's going to be over a touchdown.
What about you, Terrell? How do you see this one going about 10 days out from now?
Well, I'm going ahead and locking it in the Betting Pros app right now. You can go give me a follow at bettingpros.com/Terrell. Yeah, I'm taking Indiana. I'm taking Indiana on the money line. This is a hammer smash spot of I love Indiana to get this done. I truly do believe we're going to get one or two dogs that are going to surprise us outright. Maybe one, but we could be surprised by two. I really do think that Indiana can be that one, though. These schools are 4 hours apart. They're 4 hours apart. This is the little brother of Notre Dame, has been the football powerhouse, all of that, and Kirk Cignetti gets to fuel his team with all of that. We've seen Kirk Cignetti over there in the Group of Five be able to get his team up for these Power Five games and really, really be able to show up and coach up a really good team. He had time to prepare. They're not worried about the travel spot. This is the best travel spot of all the playoff, actually, because they're staying in state. So I think that also counts for something. I think Indiana's offense is enough where they're not going to, Notre Dame's defense isn't going to make this a one-sided game. And if you're telling me that you're going to give that Indiana offense opportunities and the Iowa State game, not the Iowa State game, the Ohio State game, I feel like that gave them a wake-up call of, hey, these special team issues, all these little things that can go and make a game really, really go against us, we got to cut those out and at least keep this one close. I think this is 100% within a one-score game, but I think Indiana's actually going to come out with the outright win. And this is the game that Marcus Freeman just kind of tilts at the end, and they don't look as good, and they're not as prepared as Indiana. I just think preparation is really, really big in the college football playoff with that week off, and I think Kurt Cignetti is going to be really, really good with this preparation.
Okay. My initial lean is to the under of 50.5. Indiana's best element on offense is their passing game. Notre Dame, despite losing Ben Morrison, still their strength is their passing defense as well. Indiana also has the best rushing defense, and that is really what is leading Notre Dame's team is their running attack with Love and Leonard. I don't think they've faced a challenge like this, so any love for the under from either of you guys or the total at all? 27 degrees at game time as well, so it's going to be chilly up there.
I think the under is a safer play for sure, and mainly because we saw Indiana get dismantled by Ohio State's defensive line. So if Notre Dame has that type of a game where they're just breaking down this Indiana O-line, this one's going to be wrapped up real quick. But I think if Indiana sticks in this game, I think they're going to have a hard time stopping the run game from Notre Dame, and I think there are points to be scored. So if it goes the way we think it does, Terrell and I right now, I think you're over. The over is probably in play, but if it doesn't go that way, which it very well could, I mean, Notre Dame is
what
a
the
strong
books
team.
think,
The books do think it is going to go in Notre Dame's favor, then I like the under. Yes.
I think Notre Dame team total under is probably the best bet for me there in this one. I think that this Indiana passing attack can really, really light you up at multiple points in the season, and they talk about the difficulty in schedule. Well, I mean, Notre Dame really didn't have that difficult of a schedule either, so I think that there could be a possibility of Indiana being able to run the score up here, but I just think that Indiana defense and the defensive line and all of that, they're really, really, really going to get after that Notre Dame offense, and I don't think Notre Dame's going to be able to score much.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll revisit that a week from now. As it stands, it looks like we're leaning towards the Hoosiers. I like the under as well. On Saturday, December 21st at noon, the 6-seed Penn State Nittany Lions are 8.5-point favorites against the 11-seeded SMU Mustangs in Happy Valley. SMU coming off that heartbreaking ACC championship loss to Clemson. They are now 8-5 ATS, 11-2 overall. Their only other loss was to BYU all the way back in week 2. Rhett Lashley's team is currently 28th in total defense, but their run defense, much better than their passing defense. Quarterback Kevin Jennings, he has led this team their 20th total offensive ranking as well. No new injuries to report for SMU. Penn State, they're coming off a loss in their title game to Oregon. They dropped to 11-2 straight up, 6-7 ATS. They, of course, also lost to Ohio State earlier this year, and their best win has come against Illinois. Drew Aller, he's had his moments at times this season, gentlemen. He has led the Nittany Lions to the 15th ranked total offense. Obviously, he has great weapons in the backfield. Tyler Warren at tight end as well. They also have the 6th ranked total defense for the Nittany Lions. Penn State is hoping to get back tackle Anthony Donka. He's been dealing with an injury for quite some time. Terrell, have you settled on a side yet? And are you betting it now, or are you waiting for some line movement potentially?
No, I think I'm fine taking the side now. I don't really feel the best about this one just because SMU coming up north into Penn State. This is one of the worst travel spots. So we go from one of the best travel spots to one of the worst travel spots in SMU going up to Penn State. But I just think that they are so hungry and they they are going to give us a game regardless. Do they go out here and get this outright win? I don't know, and I don't think so. This is probably the dog that I'm not sprinkling the money line on. But if you're telling me that I have to trust Drew to keep the offense going enough to just continuously lay on points. We saw what Clemson did. Clemson got out early and SMU not giving up. Just pesky. And I can see Jennings being able to do that on the offensive side of the ball and be able to move the ball a little bit on Penn State. So right now, I like SMU plus the points. I'm going to wait. See how I feel about this one. I'm not as confident as this one as Indiana, but I'm on the side of SMU in the points right now.
Boggs, do you have an initial lean, and can you tell us any information about where the money's coming in on?
Yeah, the money was acting weird yesterday, so I honestly can't. I can't tell you which way it's going. But I can tell you in this game, my big question in this is, can the SMU O-line hold up against this Penn State pass rush? If they can't, Penn State is going to wrap this up real quick. I think this game is over in the first half type of a game if they cannot keep Abdul Carter and Sutton and everyone off of Jennings here. We've seen Jennings turn the ball over. He did early against Clemson, obviously against Duke in that crazy -6 turnover margin game that they still somehow won with a miracle. Kept them in the playoff, by the way.
Yeah,
they didn't know it then, but
yes,
that win kept them in the playoff. But Penn State should be able to score. I don't question that at all. Clemson, Pitt, Boston College, Duke, Louisville, TCU all put up 25-plus points against SMU. So I think Penn State is better on offense than most of those teams. They had problems against Ohio State. They had problems against Illinois. But, I mean, they just gashed Oregon for 518 yards. So I don't think I have any issues with this Penn State offense at all. I think I want to wait. I want to see if we can get this number a little bit lower. BP likes this at closer of Penn State -7.5 instead of 8.5. Is it still at 8.5? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yep. So
yeah.
Some nines out there. It's some nines out there.
I want it to come down. I want it to come the other way, and I want to take Penn State. But 8.5, I think I'm okay taking Penn State. I do think they win this. I do think they win this going away a little bit. Would a game against Alabama been a little better? Maybe. Maybe it would have been better.
I was praying,
but they didn't deserve.
They lost to Oklahoma. It might not have been as good. It might not have been as good. They lost to Oklahoma.
And I like how they got fact checked on their post too. Their AD was like, "We're gonna have to relook at our, non-conference schedule," and then it's like Alabama lost all 3 of their games in conference. Don't believe anything they're saying. So, they lost. SMU won. SMU deserves to be here. But I do think Penn State is a better team, and I think this one is one where they are pesky. To Terrell's credit here, they are very pesky, and they come back and they don't give up. That's how you win when you lose a turnover margin by 6. That's how you stay in this game when you get down so quick to Clemson, right? So I don't think at any point that this game is over, but I do think there's a chance for Penn State to look fairly dominant in this one. So I will, lay the points here, but not with a ton of confidence. And I'm hoping it comes back down before we make our official picks next week.
Okay.
Western Kentucky, South Florida, Wisconsin, and Mercer. That was the non-conference schedule that they. Exactly. I can only imagine how much worse that non-conference schedule could get than Western Kentucky, South Florida, Wisconsin, and Mercer.
Mercer's going to become a rival. Bama's going to be seeing them every year.
They're about to go down to the FCS ranks and grab some FCS teams and say, some more FCS teams and say, we're going to play against 4 FCS teams this year. Ridiculous.
Before we continue, I did want to remind everybody to please join our college football podcast group. You can sync your picks or use the quick pick feature on the BettingPros sports betting app to get a chance to win some free prizes. Elevate your betting strategy and join the conversation today at bettingpros.com/college. In Austin, the 5th-seeded Burnt Orange opened as 11-point favorites over the 12-seed Clemson Tigers. Clemson, they drilled a 56-yard game-winning field goal to win the ACC championship and to punch their ticket into the playoffs and to get to 6-7 ATS. Clemson, they have 3 losses this season. They've lost to Georgia, Louisville, South Carolina. The defense has been suspect. We've talked about that all year, but Cade Klubnik and Phil Maffa have led this team to 12th total offense. Wide receiver Tyler Brown, no doubt about it, back on the injury report already for Dabo Swinney, as is RB2 Jay Haynes. Texas still waiting on the return of left tackle Kelvin Banks, and they have now dropped to 11-2 straight up, 7-6 ATS after a second loss to Georgia in the SEC championship game. Longhorns quarterback Quinn Ewers hasn't been a difference maker as of late. Despite the play calling of Sark, this team has fallen to 18th in total offense, 25th in scoring offense, but the defense has stepped up in a major way, ranking first against the pass, 15th against the run. This is another game I'm starting to like the under here, boys. 52 points. Texas 8-3-2 to the under this season, and they've scored an average of 22.5 points over the past month, 4-0 to the under. Clemson has scored a total of 17 points in their 2 games against SEC schools this season. Boggs, do you like the total early with me, or are you more interested in a side?
No, I like the under as well. I think that, it's a factor of 2 things, and they're both on Texas' side. Texas defense is the best in the country. I don't think that's really debatable anymore. And their offense cannot punch the ball in, and they're missing field goals. So with a weak offense and one of the best defenses in the country, I think it's hard to pick an over in a game like this. And Clemson had that great win over SMU. They only put up 326 yards, though. And they gave up a bunch of yards in that comeback for SMU. They had 419 against South Carolina, but they were run over for 431 in that game. Gave up 458 to SMU last week. I just think the crazy strong defense of Texas is going to be able to limit Klubnik. Now, Klubnik is a Austin native. He's going back to Austin. It's a homecoming for him. It's a good storyline that you're going to hear about, talked about in this game a ton in the pregame and inside of it here. Quinn Ewers and Klubnik played in a state title game a couple years ago.
Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah.
So, it's a fun rivalry game. There's a lot of fun stories and narratives here, but I do think this game boils down to what happens with Texas on offense. Are they punching the ball in after being able to move it? Because they moved it on everybody. They just have not scored. They didn't score well against A&M. They obviously didn't score well enough and missed some field goals against Georgia to send that game into overtime. So this is about punching the ball in for Texas. They will be able to move the ball. Everybody has on Clemson. I don't know if they're going to be able to slow down Klubnik. I do think they will be, because I think this is the best defense in the country. But I think the under is the safest play. I still like the Longhorns here. I've been a doubter on Clemson this whole year. I think every time they've been in a huge game outside of this one against SMU, they have not really been good, and they almost let SMU come back in this one and bounce them out of the tournament. So I think this is a Texas win, but I can't say going away. It should be, but the way the offense has been playing, you can't say that.
Terrell, we are early in the week prior to these games being played, so I'm not going to ask you horns up, horns down, but is there a number you could maybe see that would make you want to get invested in a side here, whether that's Texas, or maybe we've already seen that number with Clemson? You can get them at plus 12.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to take plus 12 with Clemson. You can't lay that amount of points with Texas. And Boggs said it. He didn't want to say it, but he said it. They can't punch the ball in. I can't trust you to cover the line if you can't put points on the board. So, yeah, I do agree with y'all under play. I do think the under is a very good play. But Dabo is going to keep this team in the game, and Texas is going to let them. And I think it's going to be on Klubnik's legs, actually. I think the fact that he can bring some duality and some spontaneity to the offense and kind of make something shake with his legs when the play starts breaking down, if he makes the right decision and he's not throwing the ball into heavy traffic, and he's, all right, it's not there, take off with my legs, get a good gain, and we'll get back on the next down, then I think that they're going to continue to move the ball, which is going to kill clock. That's going to help the under, and that's also not going to give Texas a lot of opportunities to put the ball in the end zone here. So I think that 12 is way too many points, and honestly, it's up to Texas if they want to win this game or not. I think Texas absolutely has everything they need to just be able to go out here and win this game, but I mean, we've seen it. They don't act like they want to win the game sometimes, and they're like, all right, we're going to go the Kansas City Chiefs approach, and we're just going to play this close. All right, I can't take plus 12 with you, though.
It's interesting because as the season has gone along, I feel like Texas doesn't have a bunch of elite players. They have like a bunch of really, really good players, right? A bunch of depth. That offensive line, definitely the strength there, especially Banks, who will be probably a top 10 pick if he can get back this season. But do you guys feel that too? Like last year at Michigan, we had, Will Johnson over there. We also had Graham on the front end. We had Blake Corum. We had J.J. McCarthy. I just feel like Texas is missing a little bit of pizzazz, if you would.
I mean, I think that's what everybody feels like, and everyone knows the answer to this question. It's put Arch in, let him go, let him spin. That's the pizzazz that we're missing.
You're right.
But I do think that if you make that move, you have to make it in game. Quinn has to fail first. I think he's earned that. Mm-hmm. So I think Quinn has to go out here in this game with a little bit of extra rest and fail in the first half for you to make that move. Now, I think the preemptive move is let's design a bunch of plays for Arch, not just near the goal line and not just in fourth and short, third and short. Let's get him in some series. So I think you're going to see that already, but it's going to be one of those things where if Texas is tied or losing going into halftime, out of halftime, here comes Arch, and
it's going to be a play. This is going to be the play to spark Texas. They're going to bring Arch in the game. It's going to be some third and short, fourth and short, something like that. And they're like, oh, Arch is running. And then he's going to throw the ball over the top for a touchdown. Yes. And that's going to be the spark.
Yeah. By the way, I bought an Arch scoring on Texas A&M Christmas ornament.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Love it.
The fact that they were selling that.
First buyer right here.
There you go. The first round of the college football playoffs, it will round out in Columbus, Ohio, where the 8-seed Ohio State Buckeyes, they are laying 7.5 points against the 9th-seeded Tennessee Volunteers. We last saw Ohio State lose to Michigan at the Horseshoe, handing them their second loss of the season after already losing to Oregon back in early October. They do, however, have great wins against Penn State, Indiana, and they sit at 500, 6-6 ATS this season. The offense has definitely underperformed given the talent both out wide and in the backfield, but their defense, led by the likes of Caleb Downs, Jack Sawyer, Tyleek Williams, is first in total defense, second against the pass, seventh against the run. Could that spell trouble against Tennessee here, Terrell? They are 7-5 ATS, 65th in passing offense, but 9th in rushing offense. I don't know. I think this could be trouble for Tennessee. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the games that I'm just super duper confident off the rip. I'm taking Ohio State, and I don't think anything's going to change my mind in the next week of me not taking Ohio State. I mean, the fact that you can lose to Michigan, not make your title game, get a bye, and then a home playoff game against a SEC team coming up north, and the SEC has been talking all of this, hey, I guess we got to schedule weaker out of conference. Oh, yeah, you about to see why you need to schedule weaker out of conference, because Ohio State's about to be mad. They're going to be livid, and Ryan Day understands he is coaching from his job every single game from here on out. You got to at least make the national championship. There's no way Ryan Day keeps his job after the embarrassment to Michigan all these years, and this was the year. This was the year to handle Michigan and hand Michigan an L, and you couldn't even do that still. Like, I think that they are fed up, and they are looking for any reason. And when they're looking for any reason, you gotta do what you can. It's kind of like, remember the Titans, where they said that they were going to fire the coach after an L, and he was like, all right, we're just going to go win all the games. And they went and won all the games. Well, here we go. I think that this is either the end of Ryan Day or Ohio State just dogs this Tennessee offense that is so up and down, and with the good special teams. And you've seen Ohio State in a lot of these games with that special teams really, really be able to get block punts and touchdowns and all of that. I can't see myself getting off in Ohio State at all.
This is also the only spread that I'm already thinking about getting invested as well with Ohio State, Terrell. So I like it because I feel like if Tennessee can't get Dylan Sampson going against this defense, they will struggle. They had a close game against Oklahoma, the best rushing defense they faced this season. They only put up 17 points against Georgia, the only other top 40 rushing defense they face. The projected high in temperature this day is going to be 37 degrees. And Nico's from Long Beach, California.
My gosh.
So I think it's going to be cold, blistery up there, Boggs, and I don't think Nico and this team can handle it. So I'm also going Ohio State here early. That I haven't bet it yet. That's my lean. Do you have an early lean here and any insight on maybe if there will be movement here?
I do, but I'm not as confident as you guys are. I'm having a harder time with this one because I tell you what I do like specifically on Tennessee's side on defense is I like this mismatch of the Tennessee defensive line against the weakness of this team. The offensive line for Ohio State, Donovan Jackson has had some tough grades since filling in at left tackle. When Simmons went down, they moved him from left guard to left tackle. He hasn't had the best transition there. The whole offensive line had bad grades against Michigan. They also weren't great against Indiana. I told you that offense was okay. They were really good on the short passes. Northwestern, they didn't have good grades, the O-line, and they were just okay against Purdue. So I do think that's a fairly sizable mismatch in Tennessee's favor. However, I think the mismatch between the Ohio State or the Tennessee O-line and the Ohio State D-line, I think that's tougher, for Tennessee. And the fact that, as you guys mentioned, Nico is young. He's taken too many sacks. He's thrown picks. And what Terrell said, I think a punt block, a kick return, a kick block, something like that in Ohio State's favor is going to be the swinging point of this game. So I'm on the Ohio State side, but I don't think Tennessee goes away as quickly as y'all are saying. I think Tennessee sticks around in this game for a little bit. I think it's low scoring. I kind of like the under in this one because of the mismatch of both defensive lines versus both offensive lines. So I think this could be low scoring and scrappy, but I think the difference in this game is the playmakers that Ohio State has on the outside. Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Egbuka, the running backs. I just think there's too much offensive firepower for them to be held back the entire game. So I think we see a couple big plays from Ohio State make the difference here. As long as you don't get a terrible offensive game plan like you did against Michigan, I think Ohio State's safe.
Boggs, do you think 7.5 at even money currently over at FanDuel as well is the best we're going to see this? I mean, both these programs have huge fan bases. They're big brands. They're going to have a lot of public money just on the fan bases alone.
Yeah, a lot of money on Tennessee right now. So I can see that coming back down towards Ohio State side a little bit. I just don't think it should move, though. I think this line is very correct. So I don't think I see it moving too much. We're right in line with this. We're a little bit on the Tennessee side in terms of BP projections. So if it comes back down, it'll probably be right on top of that. So not a ton of confidence with this game. Not like you guys have for me.
Okay. While we have to wait over a week for the playoff games to be played, we do have some live action this weekend, starting with the Army-Navy game going down at Northwest Stadium in Landover, Maryland. On Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, the Black Knights are favored by 6.5 over the Midshipmen. And it's kind of easy to understand why, right, guys? I mean, Army just won the AAC championship 35-14. It was a rout against Tulane. Everyone from their top-ranked rushing offense and their 10th-ranked total defense should be up for this game. Army is currently 8-3 and 1 ATS, and if they win, they'll set a school record for 12 wins. Navy should get quarterback Blake Horvath back after dealing with some rib injuries earlier this month. They've been a respectable 8-3 straight up, 7-4 ATS. They too have a top 10 rushing offense, but their defense ranks outside the top 70 in all major categories. Boggs, Army has won the last 2 in this rivalry. Do they make it 3 in a row on Saturday, or will they take their foot off the gas?
Man, how do you not take Army here? I think is my initial shock. My initial thought in this game. I actually like the over as well. I think that Army's
it's a low total. It
is.
38.
And this game traditionally goes under. I mean, a lot of money has been made by people taking the under in this football game. So I'm not going to sit here and say I love the over, but I do like it here. I like it better than laying the points and taking Army, I think. I don't think Navy's a bad team at all. Blake Horvath has been strong. He's going to be back for this game. I just don't think they have the defense that Army does at Navy. Yes, Army was rolled by Notre Dame, but they beat the brakes off of most other teams, including Tulane in the AAC title game last week. This is the number 1 rushing offense in the country. Navy hasn't been great at stopping the run. Give me Army to win this one and cover, but the over is my favorite bet in this game. I like the fact that Horvath is playing for Navy. He makes them way better, but I just think Army does the heavy lifting and scores here. And the fact that Horvath is in this game, makes it more possible for Navy to be in this game and score points. So the over is my favorite play, but I'll also lay the points and take Army.
Terrell, you are an American hero, military man. Which branch are you going with here?
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, I understand. First of all, the under is a lock. I mean, there's nothing to
You
talk
think?
about here. 15-1-1 is the under in the last 17 meetings at a neutral site. 15-1-1. I'm not going against that. It doesn't matter what the total is at. And the total is always around this number. It constantly goes over because what is these two teams? They're both running the football teams. They both run a bunch of clock.
That
You
clock
could go through a
goes
first
real
quarter.
fast. Yeah.
The first quarter, you could look at it could be over, and you only saw 2.5 possessions. So
Right, yeah.
it could be very, very quick for this. I can see a 7-3 first quarter. That would be the most. That's if you have the over, you're hoping for a 7-3 first quarter. That's how you're sitting there saying, "Hey, all right, now
You're
we're getting
pacing well
somewhere."
at 7-3.
Yes, so
because it's under 40 points.
so I think it's going to be a little bit of maybe I like Army early because I do think that Bryson Daly in the offense may shell shock this Navy team early on and be able to put up a quick score, but I don't think Navy's going away in this game. This is a ugly rivalry game. I mean, Army-Navy, doesn't matter if it's football, basketball, these games are competitive, these games are serious, and even in the heyday of some of those best Navy teams, when it was flipped around, and Navy was the ones that was pushing everybody around and controlling the line of scrimmage and had the better option play and all of that, they were still covering this line against Army was still covering this line. Both of these two teams play single possession games, and I can see something like that. I mean, Army didn't cover against Air Force when they played Air Force earlier on in the year. Triple option team, they would have covered this line, but they didn't cover the game there. I think Navy is really getting up for this, and defensively, with the week to prepare, they're going to have a game plan that's ready, that's not going to let Army just score up and down at will on them. So I do love the under. I think that this is a low-scoring game, but I also think that the 6.5 is too many points because I think this Navy team just isn't going away.
Okay. And before we continue, I did want to tell everybody about Fast Break Bets. If you like betting on basketball, then join host Terrell Furman on the Fast Break Bets podcast. It's your daily dose of basketball betting in 15 minutes or less. Tune in every single day for your rapid-fire fix of all things basketball, from the W to the association to college basketball and more. Make sure you guys are checking out the Fast Break Bets podcast right here on the Betting Pros YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Terrell, college basketball also heating back up. You never sleep, do you, my friend?
Yeah, definitely don't sleep, and we're about to get heavy in the college basketball betting as college football ramps down. So, we're gonna see it's a bunch. Hey, Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper over there at Rutgers look really, really good. Look really, really good as a freshman young duo. I would just love to see them play college basketball. No, I know they're about to make the jump, but look like a really fun young duo, and that Rutgers team looks really, really interesting.
I'll take your word for it, man. Staying on Saturday, we have the Salute to Service Bowl kicking off at 9 p.m. Eastern Time in Montgomery, Alabama, South Alabama.
Send me some tickets.
What was that?
Send me some tickets.
Okay. South Alabama, they are 7-point favorites against Western Michigan. South Alabama, very middle of the road Sunbelt team, I think you could fairly say, finishing 6-6 straight ups, 5-7 ATS. They have a top 20 scoring offense, but are 99th or something close to that in total defense. The Jaguars could be without quarterback Gio Lopez as well, who's questionable, and they'll also be without their leading rusher Fluff Bothwell, who did hit the transfer portal. Western Michigan, equally mid-MAC team, I would say, 6-6 straight up, 5-7 ATS as well. Their offense on paper is worse, 82nd in total offense, and their defense, 101st in total defense as well. Their leading wide receiver, tight end Blake Bosma, he's in the portal, as is one of their top defensive players, edge Corey Walker. Terrell, do you have a side in the Salute to Service Bowl?
Yeah, I do. I love Western Michigan plus the points here. It was really hard for me to take South Alabama with. It looks like Gio Lopez is not going to play. We'll see. I mean, the injury concerns are really big there, but Fluff Bothwell is going off to bigger and better things. And if you stay tapped in a lot with this South Alabama team and watching him play, you knew that this is a transfer portal candidate of somebody who's going to go off to a bigger school, do some big things, and possibly have a run in the NFL. So not surprising, but he's just such a big part of their offense and what they do scoring that I think this Western Michigan team coming down here with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, coming down to Alabama to play this game, South Alabama, they're going to have the crowd a little bit. I think they're going to get up in what is a neutral site but feels kind of more like a road game here. I like Western Michigan and the MAC to be able to keep this one close. I'm taking them plus the points, and I'll sprinkle on the money line because these games can go either kind of way. And if they don't have their starting quarterback and starting running back that is, all conference, then 100%. I think that there's a lot of possibility opening for Western Michigan to get an outright win here.
Bogman, candidly, I haven't really kept up much with South Bama. I wasn't familiar with Fluff's game coming into this one. So do you have any thoughts on South Alabama or Western Michigan as a whole?
Yeah, not my favorite game. This one, if you're doing those conference matchups, this one would be very low.
Okay.
I mean, this would be a single-digit game for sure. But I'll say this. I'm not touching the total with Lopez questionable, but I do still like South Alabama. Like Terrell alluded to, is basically a home game for them. WMU has had just such a bad defense. I just cannot take the points with them. I don't feel like it's a very good matchup for the Broncos either. South Bama is gettable, but really it's through the air, and this is a run-first team, I believe. They pass at like a 44.6% clip, somewhere in that range. So I think and also, like, if they are playing comeback, they just lost their leader in receptions and receiving touchdowns, and their tight end Bozeman, who's in the portal. We know South Alabama's going to pass, and they lost their sack leader in Corey Walker, as you alluded to as well. We show a big advantage to South Alabama if Lopez is playing in BP, but I don't think he is either. So I still would lay the 7.5 because we see this as more of a 13.5 point game should Lopez be in there. So I know he's a big part of this team, and he is the bigger loss to his team than Bozeman and Walker for Western Michigan. I just think that Western Michigan doesn't have anything without those guys. So for me, I'm going to take the Jags and lay the points.
On Tuesday night, we have the Miami Beach Bowl between the 25th ranked Memphis Tigers and the West Virginia Mountaineers. Memphis finished 4th in the AAC, 10-2 straight up, 6-5-1 ATS. As always, the Tigers have an explosive offense, 12th in total offense. They also are top 10 against the run on defense, but 114th in the nation against the pass. But weirdly, that kind of sets them up pretty well against West Virginia after finishing 6-6 and middle of the road in the Big 12 standings. WVU has fired Neil Brown. A lot of Rich Rod calls out there on the internet for him to maybe return. They're once again top 30 in rushing, but their defense ranks outside the top 100, their passing offense ranks outside the top 100. Boggs, do you see any value currently on the board with Memphis favored by 2.5?
Yeah, I like Memphis in this game, and Chad Scott took over as the OC. He's the OC as the interim head coach in this game. And to have not a lot of guys transfer yet is pretty impressive for West Virginia with their head coach leaving. But that's why they took this early game. They took this early game to give them a chance to keep the kids there and then go into the transfer portal before the 28th, of course. So it's been impressive that they've been able to keep it. But Memphis wanted an early bowl. They also wanted a game that was within driving distance of them. Don't know who's driving from Memphis 7 hours to Frisco on a Tuesday, but okay, it's a close game in proximity for Memphis. I just think that Memphis is too experienced. They're one of the better G5 teams in the country. This is another game that the underdog just doesn't match up well. WVU is a much better rushing team than passing. Memphis has played top 10 run defense this season. Give me Seth Hennigan, who is the AAC all-time leading passer right now, and the Tigers in this game. The pass defense is bad for WVU. Memphis has a lot of experience. I'm laying the points and taking the Tigers.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of my favorite sides as well with Memphis minus 2.5. If you want to forget the points, minus 142 on the money line. Where are you going, Terrell? You love WVU.
I really don't love WVU. They actually annoy me relatively. But I think that... So, who were the two losses to Memphis? Well, one was Navy. What does Navy do? they run the football, but they run the football unconventionally. And I think
Yeah.
that's where WVU gets them. It's the unconventional running of the football, the quarterback taking off when you're not expecting them to take off and having a 20-yard gain. And I think that he can do that in this game. And so I'm not 100% there on just jumping on the Memphis side of this. But what I do like is the over. I think the over is a great play. I think that Memphis is going to be able to score the ball. And if I'm right about WVU and their contribution of things and being able to find those rushing lanes and that rushing attack that will work against this team and open up their pass game a little bit, they'll be able to put up some points too. And I've seen Memphis Spurry on the defensive side of the ball and be able to let other teams just hang around in the game and score points. So I like the over in the game. I think this is a high scoring affair, but not 100% there on Memphis just yet.
Yeah, look, roster-wise, the Big 12 versus G5 team. So,
Yeah.
there is a threat for WVU for sure. I just think Memphis is one of the better G5 teams. So, but we can both be right on this one.
Mm-hmm.
We've got another G5 game in the Boca Raton Bowl with JMU favored by 6.5 against Western Kentucky on Wednesday evening. This is despite the news that JMU quarterback Alonzo Barnett III is out. Billy Atkins in at quarterback. They'll also be without starting left tackle Jesse Ramel, who hit the portal. This could be actually hurt the Dukes, who ranked 24th in scoring offense. JMU in their first year without Sig Signetti, they are 8-4 straight up, 6-6 ATS. WKU, of course, coming off that embarrassing 52-12 loss to Jacksonville State in the Conference USA title game. They're 96th ranked in total defense, and they was absolutely exposed on last Friday night. And their second leading wide receiver, Easton Messer, he is also now in the portal. Terrell, do you have a feel about this one at all? WKU feels like it's kind of on the schneid right now, but no Barnett for JMU makes this line feel quite big.
Yeah, it does. It does feel a little bit too big. I understand why the line grew because I do think JMU, on paper, full strength, is a better team, and they probably should easily be able to get the cover here. But Billy Atkins, I mean, it's been a while since we've seen him in a starting role. Last time we did, it was against Marshall, and he didn't look good. He threw 4 interceptions. That was some years ago. He's grown in the program, and I think that's the good thing about it is the fact that he's stayed with this team and he's grown in the program. But that doesn't always translate into wins, and laying points with that, I don't think I want to lay points with that. I think that he can make this a competitive game, and maybe this is interesting. But WKU, I think that they can put together a nice game plan and give JMU some fits. Maybe JMU still gets the win, but I don't know. I don't know about that. I'm not feeling laying the points with Billy Atkins here, so I'm taking WKU plus points.
Boggs?
Well, I have questions about this game still, and my questions are because Feldkamp for WKU went into the portal. It's unclear whether he's going to play this game or not. But if he doesn't play this game, the second string and third string in Turner Helton and TJ Finley are both in the portal as well.
Yeah.
So WKU, with a rhythm passing offense, may be down to their fourth quarterback in this game. And this is the danger of betting these bowl games early. So, let's wait till the day before. Let's get these reports and see what's happening here. But I don't expect him to play. I expect him to be down to their fourth quarterback. And, a fourth versus a second. Give me the second. And, we've heard James Madison, I feel like, has done a relatively great job here of, Bob Chesney. They lost Signetti. They lost a ton of transfers as well. And they still are in a bowl game here. I think it's a pretty impressive job. So I think Atkins can do a lot of similar things that Barnett can, who's up for the Bill Dudley Award, which I didn't realize they give to the best player in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I'm sure Terrell is familiar with this award, but I didn't know anything about it. So Barnett is up for that award with a couple other guys, on a couple defensive players, one from Tech and one from Virginia. For that award. But freshman quarterback J.C. Evans, he said, is going to get some chances as well. I like the Dukes, but I like the under with these backup quarterbacks. I think the under is the best play here.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad play at all. We'll go ahead and round out the program with the LA Bowl in SoFi Stadium on Wednesday night with Cal currently favored by 2.5 points over UNLV. We did see some pretty steep line movement since earlier in the week. That was because it was just announced honestly moments before we went live. I hope everyone was up to date on this. Quarterback Fernando Mendoza is entering the portal. I don't think he's going to be playing in this game. UNLV is 10-3 with their 2 losses coming to Boise State. Of course, they have another loss in there as well, including last week's 21-7 loss in the Mountain West Championship game. They are 7-6 ATS, but they lose head coach Barry Odom, who is left for Purdue, and starting cornerback Tony Grimes also in the portal. Still, they have quarterback Haj Malik Williams, a fan favorite of our guy Terrell there. He has pushed this team to 14th in scoring offense and also 5th in rushing offense in the nation. The Calgorithm, it was a fun story. I know a lot of people enjoyed the game day that was out there on the West Coast earlier this season.
They should have beat them.
Yeah, I know.
That's really what derailed the season. They should have beat them.
And they ultimately finished 6-6 straight up, 6-6 ATS, most recently losing 6 of their last 9 games. However, they do have the superior defense, including being ranked 6th against the pass. But as we mentioned, Fernando Mendoza, their starting quarterback, he is entering the portal. Their second leading wide receiver, Niza Hunter, also in the portal. Boggs, with all this portal talk, do you have a lean here at all?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I don't like UNLV in this matchup, but with Mendoza leaving, what I really hate about this matchup is that Cal was favored. This is going to flip. UNLV should probably be favored if Mendoza is not going to.
That's why I think we have to get on UNLV now if we want.
Yeah. So let's take the plus points with UNLV. I don't like this matchup, though. I'll say that because we have Barry Odom leaving. We know that UNLV runs the ball at a 55% clip. Cal plays well against the run, and they haven't really been soundly beat outside of that game against SMU. They have a bad loss. They lost to Florida State, so that is a terrible loss. But they should have beat Miami. They lost 17-15 at Pitt, 24-3 versus NC State. They lost by 8 points to Syracuse. These are good teams that they played. They have played a hard schedule. They have not played a Mountain West schedule like UNLV has.
Yeah.
So I do think Cal is the better team. But losing your starting quarterback is a huge loss, especially in a game that's sooner in this bowl process here. So I'll take the points in UNLV. I'm not real happy about it, though. I don't like this. Would be another low confidence game for me. If Mendoza was playing, I think I would take Cal with confidence. Really don't like that they're favored, but without Mendoza, I just can't take them. I'll be taking UNLV. I don't like it, though.
Trell, one last ride with Haj Malik Williams and company here?
Yeah, of course. Like, come on now. This Cal team is not like that. They're really not. I just let you guys talk them up, to let you build and build and build for me to just come in here and say we need to hammer UNLV in this spot. Yes, I kind of wish Mendoza was playing so that we could just go ahead and X out that the Mendoza factor. I don't think Mendoza was a factor at all. I think that are they going to put up more points with Mendoza? Yes, but that's not going to do anything for the defense, and the defense has been worse over the past month. They got lucky to get out of there with the cover against Wake Forest. They had Syracuse come in there off a loss on the road and embarrass them in their own place. Syracuse, Kyle McCord went and threw the ball all over the field on them, and then they went and got into I understand it's a rivalry game, but you getting into a grudge match with Stanford at 3-8 is not good for the resume as well. And then SMU did what SMU was supposed to do and destroyed this team. Like, I think that this Cal team for weeks has been showing us who they are, and there actually might not even be a bowl team. That might be early season success and not late season success that really, really carried them to this bowl game. And so I think that, I'm all over UNLV here. I like UNLV's defense. I like the offense way more for UNLV side. And a bet I'm probably going to end up making in this game is UNLV team total over. Like, I just think that UNLV is going to be able to take advantage of this Cal defense and put up some points regardless. So I like the over for the game. I like UNLV team total over, and I'm on the UNLV side all the way. Let's go, Rex.
You think Haj Malik Williams knows where LA is on a map? You think he can point that out?
Very questionable if he knows where LA is at on a map.
Well, guys, this has been an absolute blast. I can't wait to talk again about some of these playoff games next week. We'll also continue breaking down the bowl slates as they are released. Keep up to date with all of us on our personal Twitters. Keep up to date just with the college football betting scene as a whole if you can. There's going to be a lot of moving and shaking. We got to keep our heads on swivels as we head down the stretch here. That's going to do it for us today on the Betting Pros College Football Show. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back next week with another episode. Until then, like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel and the podcast feed. Plus, download the Betting Pros app and sync your sportsbooks today. For Terrell Furman Jr. and Scott Bogman, I am Seth Woolcock. Take care, y'all.